So yeah, not quite a webinar, not quite a podcast. This is an opportunity for us to be able to go deeper into some of the topics that we've been getting a lot of questions about. So today we'll be going deep on end of year campaigns that drive engagement and referrals. And we got a lot of really cool data to share on this. Everything that we're talking about today is based on data from last year's highest performing campaigns. But we're going to be doing this, every 2 weeks, sessions every other Thursday. And we'd love to have you, sign up and join us. The next one is going to be a deep dive into the AUM pipeline dashboard, which just launched. Very exciting. It shows you your marketing results and marketing impact in dollars. We got another one after that on estate planning with Trust and Will. And that's a good example. Like we did a webinar with Trust and Will a month or so ago. And we got so many questions on the legality of estate planning. Like, is it legal to share this content, to offer estate planning, and just some of the logistics around it? And we didn't have time to spend 30 minutes answering all those questions on the webinar, but we can do that in office hours. So we hope you join us. This is the first one, and we're going to talk about some cool data. Angel, you want to tell us a little bit about this data and where this came from?
As someone who has a little bit of ADD, it's tough pulling data because data always leads to more questions and wanting to dive into more data. And you could just go deeper and deeper endlessly. Like after pulling this data, I want to go get in touch with a few key people to ask them about their experience and then look at unique things that they've done. But hey, I had to stop at a certain point. You and I had to stop at a certain point and then just move on. Like this is a great starting point for a discussion. And if there's additional questions, I'd love to see the chat light up. I'd love to see the Q&A light up. And if we can't cover it now, if we run out of time before we run out of questions, that's what additional office hours are for. So just for the purposes of this office hours, we pulled some data from 2024 and we came across, it's over 17,000 campaigns created. We got over 12 million emails sent that we looked at in our initial reporting, 1.2 million page views, 20,000 form submissions, i.e. conversions. And this was, all campaigns that were launched across all 50 states.
A lot of data. And I think kind of the, point of this slide is like, there's a lot of data here, over 10,000 advisors, like 10,000 advisor marketing programs that we looked at. And I think that you're right. There's so much more we could dive into, but the cool part is we really kind of quickly found these like 5 outliers or things we're like, oh, we got to talk about that. Like we definitely have to talk about that and bring that in here. So the things we're going to go through today are kind of those like obvious outliers. Like, oh, here was a high performing campaign that a lot of people launched. We should definitely talk about that and show just some of the cool things that people are doing. So should we dive into the first one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's see here. Wrong way. Holiday touch points. So this is one we were having kind of a cool conversation about yesterday, because I think there's a lot of different ways you could do holiday touch points. It's something that seems so simple, but done right, and I think that's the key, done right, it can have a really big impact, right? So we have one, the specific, the reason we kind of decided to talk about this is we have one called the end of year client letter. The Angel and his team will be writing later this year. It's always a really high performing and high engagement content piece for advisors to send to their clients, right? Send to your client letter. But there's lots of other types of holiday touch points. And what we were talking about was kind of 3 different ways you could approach this, right? One is like maybe not that impactful of a way to do it. One is maybe a poor way to do it. And then one is like a really value-driven way to do it. You want to talk through some of those, Angel?
Yeah. I want to address the end of year client letter, because this is a conversation that we've had often with our audience, with different advisors, with different firms. And you find that sometimes, in different professions, some people are more quantitative than others, which means that they gravitate towards communication that they themselves want to consume. And they want to send those types of communication to clients and prospects. It's almost like the golden rule, right? Like, oh, I want to treat others the way I want to be treated. But I heard about a new rule called the platinum rule, which is you treat others the way they want to be treated. And you don't quite assume that the way they want to consume information is the same exact way you want to consume information. So what I'm trying to say here is that I have had conversations and I've had to stop a few advisors from trying to send out a simple community they want to send out communication and want it to be super exhaustive, just charts and graphs galore and industry jargon and all of this data, which is wonderful in its own right, but it is kind of void of meaning and some synthesis and some narrative. And at the end of the day, clients and prospects are turning to experts because they don't have time to deal with the minutia. They don't have time to deal with all the data. They would like to turn to an expert to help them pinpoint the meaning buried in all of the data. That's pretty much what we're doing in this office hours right now. We're not just going through row by row of a spreadsheet. We're going to talk about meaning and have a conversation about it. So the reason why I mentioned that is because these end of year emails fall more along the lines of the I care spectrum versus the I know spectrum. I know being all the facts, all the data, all the expertise that you have, and I care being, hey, I'm a human being too. This is a simple outreach, a simple touch point, and it's a way for us to relate and for us to connect. And these messages, even though they're not super data heavy, they're still effective at getting replies, at getting engagement, at getting your recipients, whether it's clients or prospects, to actually feel something and think more positively about you. And that can, pave the way to them being able to receive and act on subsequent following communications after that. Mike, do you have anything to add to this mix of warm and fuzzy with super quantitative analysis?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a time and a place for both. I do think I 100% agree. Like, you want to distill all of the complexity down to, like you said, the type of information that people want to consume. And there may be some investors who want that type of thing. But I could speak for myself. Most people I know, we kind of want the takeaways, right? What are the key takeaways? What are some things to kind of move forward with? And I think the stuff that you're talking about more on the I care spectrum versus the I know spectrum, I really like that. It's so easy to fall into the I know spectrum as an expert of like, here's all the things, right? But the I care is super important too. And this is a relationship business, right? Relationships are so important. Trust is so important. And these holiday touch points, whether it's the end of year client letter or reaching out on specific holidays with something a little bit more than like an e-card, can be a really big relationship builder.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look at some of these campaigns. And I think what we're going to show is one holiday touch point here. So these are a few holiday touch points that are live on the platform right now. We have Thanksgiving holiday email, Veterans Day, general fall season. The email that you're seeing there is an example from that general fall season. And what I love about this email is it's not just like an e-card, right? What I was saying before about the 3 different ways that you could do this. I don't think it's nice to send out an e-card. It's just like, hey, happy fall. Hope you're doing well. We love you, whatever.
Right.
It's nice to do that, but I don't know that it's something that people are going to find memorable. And so taking that a little bit further, I think is really cool. And what you guys, Angel's our head of advisor content. I can't remember if I said that at the beginning, but Angel and his team are the people creating all of this content. And what you guys did with this fall season campaign is really cool. It's not a massive campaign. It's not super long, but it just has this nice little bit of reflection built in that makes it more memorable and meaningful than like happy fall, right?
Yeah, it's been really important for us. I mean, even from the start of this company, we started this company in 2016. And, one of the big values that drove anything and everything we did was basically be deliberately thoughtful, because we live in this landscape where a lot of things are done as an afterthought. A lot of things are done as blast messages without really any oversight or reviews. And it's like, you know what? Let's be deliberately thoughtful. So yes, this email could have been, some fall imagery and a message that said something like, hey, may your fall season be full of laughter and warmth and a house full of love. Sincerely, your name. But we wanted to be deliberately thoughtful. We wanted to think through, like, okay, how do we make this a relevant touch point? How do we make it a friendly communication that keeps you top of mind? But how do we also tie it to what you do? How do we also tie it to the overall service and value that you provide as just a little bit reminder, not overdone? So we want to think about this more like seasoning. We don't want to over season the meal and make it overwhelming. We want to do it just right. Just be deliberately thoughtful, a short enough message without sounding like a Hallmark card.
Yeah, I love that. Deliberately thoughtful is a great way to put it. So yeah, holiday touchpoint campaigns, a great way to, I think also just stand out because frankly, most people are going to do that e-card type approach. And there's nothing wrong with it, right? It's not like it creates a bad impression. It just doesn't create a really more positive or more impactful impression. And so I think it's an opportunity to stand out from the rest of the inbox in these moments with something that's just a little bit more. And so we've got some more holiday touch points coming out this year, certainly. Top of that list being the end of year client letter. So super excited about that. And as you can see, yeah, really high open rate. Industry standard for open rates is like 23%, something like that. So 36.38% is really great. So let's keep it moving to client events. So one of the next things we noticed is a lot of people in Q4 last year are launching event campaigns and running these events. And we know, client events are really big this time of year. Client appreciation events, depending on how you position them, they can be, really good referral drivers for having clients bring a friend. And this doesn't have to be a client event either. I know, we have some client event campaigns, we have some just standard event campaigns. And so people are running a mix of these different events. So anything to add on?
Just that trend, right? What we saw on our own platform was just a lot of client events coming out. And maybe some of that is just correlated with, you pass the summer, there's a lot of travel going on, towards the end of Q4, you've got the holiday season. So it just seemed like this is one of those windows of like, okay, if we're going to get anybody in seats, if we're going to get anybody out to come out to our events, it seemed like that was just one of the trends there on just why we were seeing a little bit of a blip of more client events going up.
Yeah, it's a great time of year to do it, and wine tasting or however you want to do it. And the campaign specifically that people are launching is this customizable event campaign, which can be used for all kinds of different purposes. But the whole idea of this campaign is to help you market an event and get people there, right? So that this is just one. There's a whole bunch of different event campaigns in Snappy Kraken. I think this is the one people use the most often because you can customize it for any different purpose. But there are some specific ones, like I think there's a wine tasting event, some other different events, and then event follow-up campaigns as well, which we know is super important for the follow-up.
Real quick, Mike, before you go further, I'd love to see dropping in the chat. Have you run an event? And what theme? Because I'm always curious about that. I've heard everything from wine tasting. I've heard of shopping events, cigar events, a Kentucky Derby event, shred days, and even cybersecurity events where you get some type of an expert to talk through cybersecurity, two-factor authentication, and just ways to protect your account. So I'm seeing here a casino night. That's awesome. A pie giveaway. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Like anything else here, whether you do run events And if you can add in addition to that, what the theme was. Yeah, document shred party. I know that's a common one, like leading up to tax season, and it makes absolute sense. That's one of those great tie-ins with, here's a trigger event, something that's going on. How do I create an event that revolves around that and that has some type of value and is related to the industry? So fantastic.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's like a really useful one too. There's a local realtor here actually who last Saturday did something kind of similar. He just rented this massive dumpster and had it in his driveway. It's like just a throwaway day. And people could just come throw whatever they wanted to get rid of in the dumpster, which is kind
Right.
of similar idea. So
People throw it, and then you think, okay, they must be there. Are they downsizing? Are there conversations we can have around their home? I heard about there was a cardiologist who would have salsa dance lessons. And he would have these salsa dance lessons and then talk about, heart health and getting your heart rate up and finding fun ways to do that that don't necessarily mean you having to be chained to an elliptical machine or something you may not be that interested in.
yeah, no, that's good. So yeah, event campaigns, be able to promote it in a pretty simple way and market it. This specific campaign that was launched a lot last Q4, 55% open rate, which is super high, 3.4% conversion rate, which frankly, a conversion rate for an in-person event, that's pretty solid. We would obviously want to see a higher conversion rate for, somebody downloading an ebook or a webinar like this. But when you're like have to think about, okay, what's the date? I got to get dressed up. I got all these different things. 3.4% for an event is really solid.
And this is one of those where we're dealing with, and we'll find this time and time again. Right now, we're dealing with averages. You and I went through data, we pulled averages. This is where it gets really interesting, where I get curious to go look at some of the bright spots. What are some of the outliers in either direction, to find out what factors led to some of those outsized results? And I'd love to talk about things like that in upcoming office hours.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think the other point worth making here is because this is a customizable event campaign, we call it a client appreciation event, but there's nothing in it that's specific to only clients. You can edit all the text, you can put your own graphics in it, change the dates, everything. So this will be a blended conversion rate for prospect and client events. So yeah, it'd be interesting to dive a little bit deeper into that in a future one. All right. This is one I actually really get excited about. And I was surprised when we're kind of going through all the data, and there was two campaigns that I didn't necessarily expect to see there that I did. And those are our AI email builder, which is a standalone email that you can build using our ChatGPT integration. So you can use AI to create and edit text and images, which is really cool. And our DIY personal connection video, where you can create your own video and have this pre-built campaign to distribute it and follow up. And so there's this idea of like DIY creativity, using AI tools to take our campaigns and they kind of amplify them with your own voice, your own creativity, and just seeing how well some of these performed kind of puts out a strong argument for this like idea of blended content, right? Where you have these baseline campaigns that you're sending out from Snappy Kraken, and then be able to just kind of sprinkle in or season, like you were talking about earlier, Angel, just kind of season your own voice, your own creativity as you have time and where it makes sense to do that. Anything to talk about here, Angel?
Yeah, I would say this. I would say you might see something like DIY creativity and think, I don't have time for that. There are some people who are going to go above and beyond and layer in a level of very unique, very creative elements of the product that we don't necessarily have in there. But what I like to remind our advisors of is that, even if we don't accomplish everything that we aspire to, we're going to sink to the level of our defaults. So I always think, and what do I have set up in a default way so that even if I don't do A, B, or C that was on my list of aspirational things to do above and beyond, that I do have a floor that operates on my behalf. And that's what this product is for. Set up your floor, set up your ongoing campaigns, set up some of the essentials. You're going to set up some of the welcome emails that we're going to run, do a demo of in a bit. And that way you've raised your floor. You've raised your floor of defaults. You've raised your floor of systems and processes. And then anything above and beyond that is just a cherry on top. Anything above and beyond that is like, oh, I got this great idea. Let me see if I can go execute on it. I got this great idea for a random email or a way to customize it or a personal connection video. Let me get my marketing person to help me out with that.
Yeah, I think those are great points. And there's a few different ways you could approach this. And I'd be interested to see, speak to like in every single one of these, I feel like we're like, oh man, it'd be cool to dive deeper and talk to some of the advisors who like launched these and find out exactly what they were doing. But I do know one way that you could do this is pretty easy entry, I think, is taking proven campaigns, like let's say taking an email. And we're going to do this later. We'll show you a little demo in a few minutes here. We're going to take a welcome email and edit it. But what you could do is take timely emails, any of these pieces of content that we're putting out, and even just tweaking that first line in an email to make it a little bit more personal to your voice, or even specific to where you live, or different things like that can make a really big impact, and make it kind of create that stronger connection with your audience. The other thing I'll say, go ahead.
Yeah, I've seen that before. I remember there was one advisor forwarded me an email. It was during the pandemic. It was during the lockdowns. And he shared with me a timely email that we had sent, and he modified it. He modified it a little bit, and he said, "Hey, I'm making the most of this lockdown. You know, I gotta stay at home. Here's a picture of me." And then he shared a picture of Matt Damon from the movie The Martian, like where he was just like looking pretty haggard inside of like whatever enclosure he was in. And he, introduced a little bit of levity. And it doesn't mean that you have to be a comedian or introduce humor, but these are like little opportunities. If you review any of this stuff, always think in the back of your mind, what is something unique to me that I would love to share? What is something unique to me that helps me connect with my clients and prospects or whomever I'm sending this information to? And just find those little opportunities to just inject some of that, some of those details into these communications.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to think about it. So these two campaigns, our AI powered email builder and our DIY personal connection video, I just blended the open rate. I mean, one of them was like 39.8 and the other one was like 41.2, and there's a similar amount launched for each. So it ended up being a 40.09% open rate, which is great. It's a really solid open rate. And I know we have also had advisors take something like a timely email, right, and turn that into a personal connection video. So you take the timely email, turn it into like a script for a video, record that video, and then put it into the DIY personal connection video campaign. And then all of a sudden you have this like, timely email that we've released. So you just released one today, Angel, right? On, was it on inflation?
Yeah, it mentioned the recent inflation report and how that influenced the recent rate cut that the Fed announced yesterday.
Yeah, so I mean, a cool creative way to use something like that and deliver it in a more personal and unique way is you could take that timely email, very easily turn it into a video transcript, potentially just reading it as is, or using AI to help you turn it into like bullet points or something, and then be able to have this video on this thing that just happened and a campaign to deliver it. So pretty cool. Anything to add on this, Angel?
No, nothing else to add. The only thing I'll say is, yeah, we're just exploring more ways to introduce and help and support with more video-based content, more script-based content. So stay tuned on that.
Cool. Love it. All right, let's keep it rolling into tax campaigns, everybody's favorite. So this is always a high performing campaign on the platform, and specifically in Q4 last year. Honestly, not that surprising to us because we look at this data pretty regularly. It was Q4's top performing lead gen campaign. I think in general, it is the top performing lead gen campaign on the platform year long. it's a topic that works really well. And Angel, you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing this year for this tax campaign, or if you want to talk more broadly about tax as well, because we have other tax campaigns.
Yeah.
I know they all perform pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been content, I've been in this industry for, let's see, going on 12, 13 years, and usually a high performing topic. It checks a lot of boxes. When it comes to marketing, you're always wanting to find something that is super relevant to the people that you're targeting. You want to find something that has some kind of baked in timeline or urgency, some kind of countdown timer that people are going to be working against. And you also want to include something that has a lot of benefit if people do something about it, and some downsides if they don't do something about it. And this checks a lot of those boxes. So it's ideal for this industry. It's ideal for this profession. It's ideal for the types of clients that you're going to be going after. And that's why we always recommend, launching it. And it launches in November. So we want to make sure that we do end of year push Q4, and then we end up updating it somewhat so that it's relevant going into the new year. So we end up updating it in Q1 and then re-adding it.
Yeah, cool. And this is we'll show the campaign graphic in just a second here, but it reminded me, what you just said reminded me of something you were talking about yesterday too, Angel, which is that you were starting to do some research on when potential clients start looking for advisors, and you were starting to see some like I was kind of hitting in Q4 and Q1.
Yeah. So I haven't poured through all of the research yet, and I'll share it with you guys over on the marketing team. But it's basically, I was looking for, what is the season where people are most likely to hire an advisor? And what I found from the research was Q4, Q1. Q4 because it's, there's a lot of people doing end of year planning, looking forward to year end bonuses. If it's, working professionals, there's just a lot that people are looking at. Going back to that countdown timer. And that is so adjacent to all these other things that they may be thinking about that relate to their financial lives, that relate to their plans. And then you have another Q1 push because now we're into the new year. People are receiving a lot of financial documents. They've looked over year-end statements. Now they have the tax deadline looming. So again, it's just, there's a whole confluence of factors and details that get people thinking about this type of thing, about planning and all the different options they may have, that it just makes it ideal for that search, for that type of conversation. So I'm interested in finding out. So that's like the highest level, right? What the research has shown me, but I'm interested in going even deeper into the research to find out what are some interesting hooks and specific topics and specific arrangements of content and communications to make the most use of this season to help out our audience.
Yeah, I love that. We definitely have to do another office hours on just this deep dive that you're going into on like how to come up with this top performing content, the different topics, what the content needs to have as far as like these different pieces or blocks of the content. And I know you're doing a lot of cool work there. So yeah, it's cool giving people a little bit of a taste behind the scenes there. But it's
Is
interesting
that
that,
your,
what's that?
you can keep going.
Okay. I was say it's interesting the correlation you're seeing Q4, Q1, and then what we see with the tax campaigns Q4, Q1, and just maybe some of that correlation there. So this campaign is really awesome. We call it a lead gen campaign. And I do want to point out, you don't only have to use it to generate leads. I actually see people, we see people on the platform using it, yes, to generate leads, push it out on social media, get new people to join your prospect list. But we also see people sending this to their prospect list as a way of getting people to, express interest, reach out, book an appointment. And that conversion rate you see there is what that is. It's a conversion rate to an appointment request. So 24%, 24.63% open rate, which is right around industry standard, which makes sense. This is typically going out to much colder audiences, either completely cold or again your prospect list. compared to some of the other campaigns where we're looking at things that will be going out to clients and prospects. But this campaign has a ton of stuff in it. Landing page, it's got a really cool content piece on a web page that people can download, share, follow-up emails. And you guys have updated it this year, and you got new stuff in there for new tax law changes. You got it reviewed. You want to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing in the campaign?
Yeah, we talked about checking all those boxes, right? Like, what is it that makes something more compelling? And this is one of those topics that people are worried about. Not everybody's an expert in. And now we have another checkbox, right? Where there's been all these new details added to tax law. So we've gone through, we've updated the content, have included facts and data related to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. We got it compliance reviewed, advertising reviewed, and we got it reviewed by a CPA. We wanted to make sure that all our research was solid and that we got, a pair of eyes on it that were from a professional who does this for a living. So I'm really happy with the way that it turned out and really looking forward to us adding it to the library this November.
Cool. Tax campaign is always a big one. I know a lot of work goes into, something like that, updating these campaigns, making sure that everything is accurate. It's all, well researched. We've got sources for all the data. So this is a good one. And last but not least, let's hop into welcome emails. There's another one that I was surprised to see show up in the data, where we have this kind of a templated welcome email that you can adjust for, tweak the language to fit your use case, right? Depending on where people are coming from, and welcome them into your practice, right? And I didn't expect to see so many of those launched, Angel. What about you?
No, I didn't expect to see that either. I thought it was going to be just like whatever we had added to the library in Q4. Like, okay, cool. This has there's a novelty bias here. We just added it. It's timely. It's relevant. Okay, great. But this has been, this is one of those essentials. It's one of those mainstays. It's what I would term a utility piece of content or communication where it's just like, oh yeah, of course. You should have like some type of welcome going out. You should have some type of, email that goes out to welcome people that you've just added to your list.
Yeah, utility is actually a good word for it. And utility, you could think like, oh, it's kind of boring because it's a utility. But I think actually it's mission critical. It's essential. And when we talk about utility, that's what we're talking about. It is essential. And the reason why is because welcome emails get a massive open rate. And it's kind of it's your time to make a first impression in this like digital world, right? Somebody opted into your prospect list, and instead of them going to their email and seeing nothing, they're going to their email and they're seeing this nice welcome email. And it gets a really big open rate because of that like intent, right? They opted into something. When I opt into something, I go then check my inbox and see if I got the thing that I'm opting into, or some kind of message, right? So it is the most missed opportunity. And if you don't have this set up, you're kind of missing out on that opportunity to create that impression, to have that little digital handshake. And being able to do it fast is really important, right? So that it's linked to that moment when somebody opted in. If it's linked to that moment, it's this powerful experience that happens in that moment in time. If it comes later, then it's like, oh, okay, well, that was nice, but people may not even remember opting in at that point. So we are gonna go ahead.
Yeah, you can think of this in two different categories. You're talking about utility. You can think of trigger or transactional emails that are cause and effect based. Something happened, someone did something, and then they receive an email. Those are going to have a great, big open rate because they did something, and there's likely that expectation that they are going to receive some type of communication, whether it's an email or a text message if you have text messages enabled. And then you have broadcast emails, something like a timely email that comes in, or something like you've created your editorial calendar and you want to send out an email to your list and it has nothing to do with an activity or a trigger moment, that's a broadcast email. You want a blend of both of those. You want a blend of your broadcasts that are strictly fulfilling whatever's on your calendar that you're planning for. And then you want a blend of the transactional and the trigger based email. That way we can stay top of mind and continue to serve the audience that we mean to serve.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to think about it, as broadcast and transactional. And I think to this concept of speed to welcome and speed to trust, and making it so it does feel like this transactional, not transactional in a bad way, but like responsive, I guess. It's responsive in the sense of you did something and there's this response. It doesn't feel delayed or like this thing that randomly happens later, one day later, or multiple days later. Speed, making it connected to that moment requires automation. And so we'll do a little demo here. We'll first of all, show you what the welcome email looks like. And then we're going to do a demo. Angel's going to pull up our platform and show you how to do every single step of this so that you could make it so that when people come in from any lead source, literally any lead source, you can have this welcome email that automatically goes out instantly to them. Well, instantly within like 2 minutes,
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So let's take a look at the email.
And I like the amendment that you made there with broadcast and response. So hey, if this stuff is cut into a clip, maybe our editor can dub over what I said. So it's just like, and then I'm actually saying response. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you're right. It's because the industry does call them transactional emails.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like if you purchase something, you get the transactional thing there, and this is kind of a similar concept, but it does make it feel less of a relationship builder.
Less ick. Yeah.
So this is what the welcome email looks like. We're actually going to look at it in the platform, and as you'll see, there's some placeholder text where you can go in and edit it. So 42.69% open rate. I guess that's the last thing to say here. That is a really high open rate for something that is going to brand new contacts on your list. And that's kind of the point here. Is this is one of the highest open rates that we're even showing today. And that's why it's such a big opportunity to show up here with a valuable message. And that's why we also decided to do this demo. Is, we could have demoed any of these other things, but I think this is one where if you can set this up for all of your lead sources, this can have a really big impact on kind of accelerating that trust building and relationship building when somebody is first experiencing your business.
Right. And so in the spirit of being deliberately thoughtful, I'm going through and making plans for how to create very specific types of welcome emails and attach welcome emails to a number of different campaigns for different contexts. So there'll be more updates on that later, but that's how important this is to business. That's how important this is to us, to be able to, okay, in what ways can we help? In what ways can we do the heavy lifting and provide the most relevant communication and automate the most relevant communications in the best possible way to help you do what you do best and grow business at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the future prospect engagement campaigns, having having a welcome email that you can turn on or off and then be able to have these set up even faster is really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop sharing real quick, let Angel share, and we'll do this demo really quick.
All right. So let's see, you mentioned a particular order in this. I can take this in a couple of different directions, Mike. Do you want me to pull up the email first, or do you want me to set up some of my groups first so I can show how some of these things are tied together?
Let's set up the email first. We can just do a really quick, and I don't know if we need to go through actually setting everything up. Why don't we just show it and talk through how we would edit it, and then we'll do a quick demo of the technology, because there is that kind of combination here. There's what are we going to do with the text itself to be able to personalize that to whoever we're sending this to, And to get
Got it.
specific, that could be like you have leads coming from Smart Asset, or you have leads who
Right.
just opted into your website, or you have leads coming from wherever else. And that's who you'd be thinking about as we're editing this text.
Okay. So yeah, so we're gonna do this demo is like involving a number of steps that most likely advisors will have set up at different points. So you and I are just going to do this all at once here. So at any point, stop me if I'm going too fast, Mike. So let's just pull up this email. So here's the welcome email. Already, we have our subject line. It will be personalized to the person who's added to this list. So the person who's going to be receiving this this email, it'll say, "Hi, Angel, welcome to my insiders list." And of course, you have the ability to change and modify this subject line. By the way, this is the demo account that I have set up here. So one thing to call out is we have some text in here that's a great starting point, and it'll have the name of the firm. So I founded, your firm founded Lopez Wealth and then I can just add my modifications in 2013. I gotta let my keyboard wake up here. 2013. Let's see here, and I'll just add to help tech professionals in the Bay Area with their financial planning when success becomes too stressful. Just as an example here, and that could be anything, right? It can be to help those working professionals who are 5 years away from retirement plan for the retirement they've worked so hard for and deserve. So right there, we've edited this. We have our PS. We have different calls to action and contact information here, and we can just hit save, and then this is already part of our timeline. It's already saved. It's part of our campaign. It's ready to go out. Any point that you want to stop me here that I either glossed over or that I should go a little deeper on, Mike?
No, I think that's great. So basically, we have this campaign. We just edited it for this specific entry point for this group that's going to be coming in, and now we have to go create the technology that we can use to automate this.
Right. So I'm gonna go ahead. Let's see here. There are a couple of different ways. I'm trying to think of like the one with the fewest steps possible. So I'm going to assume that you've already created a group. So I'm going to a different page here, and I'm going to create a group. So just so that we can provide some landmarks here. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a group that I want to automatically get filled with leads that come from a lead source that I subscribe to. And I want anyone that gets added to that group, anytime a new person gets added to that group, I want them to automatically receive that particular welcome email. So here's how that is set up. I'm going to create a group first. So I'm going to just call this office hours. Go ahead.
Do you need the dynamic group, or can you just do a static group?
I can do a static group first. I know we're throwing around different terms here, but that would be if I want to create different filters. And I want help adding filters, but I'm going to keep it simple for now. So I'm going to create this group here that says office hours group. So we've got our office hours group set up. Now, remember, let's say I'm using a lead gen service. I'm using Smart Asset or Wiser Advisor. You can give me any of the other options out there for lead gen, Mike. So I go over to lead capture. What I'm going to do is I'm going to generate a unique email, because these lead gen sources, whenever new leads come in, they send out a lead notification email that has that contact information within it. So I'm just going to call this office hours leads. How about I just say the source I get them from? So let's just say Smart Asset. So in this context, I subscribe to Smart Asset, and there's a particular campaign that they're running based off of parameters that I've given them. Whenever a new lead is generated, it's going to go to an email address. So I want to give them this email address here. So I hit copy email. This is now my clipboard. So I can open the Smart Asset account profile and I just, select, hey, when I get my notification emails, I want it to also go to this email in my clipboard, and I paste that in there, hit save. Final thing is I'm telling the system now, any contact info that goes to this unique email that I just made up for the system, any new lead that goes to that email, I want them to automatically get added to my office hours group. So I hit save. Now we have our group set up. We have the lead source attached to that group, which now means any lead notification I get gets automatically parsed, separated, and added as a contact in that group.
Which is really cool. It's kind of like you created an integration between Smart Asset and Snappy Kraken, but you didn't have to do any of the tech setup, right? We're just using this email address. Smart Asset sends a lead notification. All of that information, including financial data, gets added to Snappy Kraken in the contact record. It creates a new contact and adds that group.
And so I'm going back to the email. So I'm going to go ahead and just launch this email immediately. Right now, I don't have anyone, I haven't attached anyone to that particular email. And I'm going to manage subscribers for my new contact welcome email. This is where I can go in and subscribe individuals to that email, or I can go to groups and I can subscribe a whole group. But there's an extra thing we do in here. I can hit this auto button so that it automatically subscribes any new person that gets added to that office hours group. So just walking you through, we set up our welcome email. I had already had a group set up that I want to receive that email automatically. And that group is going to be filled every time I generate and get a new lead from my Smart Asset service. Now, I know we went through a couple little steps going through that. And I don't know if you had a timer going, Mike, but I know we slowed down. That was a lot slower than it would normally be done if you were just doing this in the course of day-to-day activity, setting up your campaign. But my guess is that we did all that in what, five minutes or so?
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm pointing that out, and I don't know how much experience a lot of people watching this have, the reason why I'm pointing that out is, as someone who's been in marketing for a while, someone who is also a technical marketer and has messed around with Marketo, Keep, Infusionsoft before that, ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, and Zapier. What I just walked you through in just a few minutes used to take a long time to set up by cobbling together all of these different tools. I'd be setting up a Google spreadsheet and setting something up on the back end so that an email goes into that Google spreadsheet and then that triggers something else. There was a whole Rube Goldberg machine that I had set up before that was part of my full-time job. And now it's been reduced to just a task you can do in a few minutes. And now I don't have to mess with it either. I don't have to go revisit that spreadsheet or revisit that Zapier connection and start troubleshooting all the connections and messing around with it there. Like, this has just been reduced to a task that can be done in a few minutes. And I'm sure you can relate to that too, Mike, because you've done a lot of these setups in the past as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. It can be a real pain sometimes getting those things to work. And I've done it like you're talking about with Zapier, where you're adding stuff to spreadsheets and getting it to read different things, and it's a pain. So this is so simple. And I think the idea is, you figure out all of your lead sources, or at least your top lead sources where you're regularly getting leads. And you go set this up, and then all of those people are going to automatically get a welcome email, which is really cool.
And I know there's a bunch of different use cases for this. I haven't heard of anyone trying this, but one thing I was interested in experimenting with was setting up a group that I would just label networking. That way, if I go to a conference, I create my lead source and I have it saved as a contact in my phone. And then if I meet somebody and I want to add them to my list and we exchange information, I'll be like, hey, can I get your email address? I didn't put their name, get their contact information and email, send it to that lead source email address, which then takes that contact information and puts it right in that group. And they can get a welcome email that says, hey, it was fantastic meeting you. You know, here's some information, a little bit more about me. I'd love to stay connected. So that's just like another little use case to like speed up, you know, the networking and speed up this humanity. You're not outsourcing a bunch of stuff and being thoughtless. This is a way to be deliberately thoughtful in a very meaningful way, in a way that saves you a lot more time and lets you scale your time.
Yeah, and scale that personalization element too. That's a great use case. So we've got two questions here that I want to make sure we answer before we wrap up here. And so first one is, I think last year there was a script for a personal connection year-end video. Are you planning on creating one again this year? That's not a
Yes.
repeat for anyone who used the 2024 script.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad you asked that. And I'd love if there's any other topics in here that people would love to hear more about. Holidays, like even though we plan pretty far ahead and we do have slots that are more TBD, that are a little bit more responsive depending on what might be happening or new opportunities that come up, I always love hearing what advisors want to see more of or what would be super, super helpful to them.
Cool. So that, yeah, that's awesome that we will have that. And then the second question is, do we need this for emails put through the Snappy Kraken website? So I guess if somebody has Snappy Kraken campaigns and they have a website, what do they need to set up to do this welcome email?
Yeah, let's see. I wouldn't want to speak out of turn. So I am about 80% sure it's like you have your website and your form, and you can integrate your form with a lead capture source. But we've got the name on here, so I do want to make sure that I get fact checked myself and that we get the most detailed information out to Caitlin.
Yeah, and to your point, there's different ways to do it because some campaigns, like some of our lead gen campaigns, have a website widget, and you can take a website widget and put it onto your website, and that's automatically going to go into that. And then there are other different ways. So we'll get a more comprehensive answer for that. But I think that in general, there's going to be faster ways to get those leads into the system without necessarily using a lead capture inbox. You're still going to want to think about where they're coming from, and be able to set up your welcome emails.
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of different entry points that you might have, and we're giving a lot of these options to just make it easy as possible and get advisors just as much coverage.
Yeah. Okay, if anybody else has any other questions, pop in the Q&A, pop them in the chat. Thanks for sticking around. Everybody who's still here. I know we went a little bit long. We got too excited about the content, but I think that hopefully this is valuable for you. We had a lot of fun being able to dive into this data and be able to talk a little bit deeper about content and the content and campaigns on the platform, content and campaigns recommendations for Q4. And whether you're using Snappy Kraken or not, I know everybody on the call is not necessarily using Snappy Kraken. I think there's a lot of concepts here that you could take and apply to whatever systems you are using and leveraging. Next office hours, like I said, is going to be on measuring what matters. So it's going to be me and Jake Lazarus, who's our product management lead, talking about the AUM pipeline dashboard. Love to have you join. For that, you can find it on the office hours, which that QR code will go to, and we'll be talking about it a little bit more as well. And you can find that on our website.
That one's going to be awesome. Really exciting. I'm also glad that I didn't have to follow that as the first office hours. I'm glad I got to attend this one as the first one. They get to follow me because that one's a big deal. I'm going to be attending that one as well. So
yeah, it's a really exciting product release that just came out. So we won't dive into it now, but more on that soon. And hey, if you're not using Snappy Kraken and you would like to use some of these cool campaigns that we've been talking about, and the technology that powers them, right? So we got the content and the campaigns that Angel and his team are building, and then we have this amazing automation technology that simplifies your life and makes it really easy to personalize your messaging and make it feel more personal, even in this digital world that can sometimes feel not that personal. And our product team is doing a great job building out that technology. So we'd love to have you book a demo, schedule some time with our team. And I'm going to make one last check here on the Q&A. I think we are good. Well, Angel, thanks for joining. This was fun.
Yeah.
Always
Awesome.
great talking to you.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been a blast going through this, and I don't want this to be my last one. We gotta dive deep on a lot of stuff that we've talked about.
Yeah. All right. So we'll do some more. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. We'll
All
see
right,
you
gang.
soon.
Thank you.